Welcome to Cinematic Recaps. This movie is called Revolver. The movie is about Jake Green, a freshly released prisoner who seeks out two evil criminals when they offer him a deal that will spare him the wrath of Dorothy Macha, a vicious crime boss, in the novel. Sit back and enjoy to see what happens. For 7 years, Jake Green has been held in solitary confinement. On either side of him, in solitary confinement, he has two enigmatic inmates, one a con artist and the other a master of chess, serving time. While in seclusion, Jake and the other two communicate via handwritten notes tucked inside of shared temporary books on chess and the ideal scam. Jake learns the components of a successful con, but it is not until much later that he truly appreciates its complexity and importance to him. Jake tells the other two a lot about himself during these conversations. These two men have never met Jake in person. The two inmates decide to free Jake as part of their jail escape strategy. The two flee the following day, leaving Jake behind. He feels defrauded. Jake stays behind bars as the two freed criminals take every penny he had stashed away on the outside. They trusted Jake to use the formula, and Jake trusted them to keep his money in safekeeping. A ton of cash. They remove the cash and leave a card with the following statement in its place. The first rule of any game: you can only get smarter by playing a smarter opponent. Then it jumps ahead 2 years. When Jake is released from prison, he is poor and impoverished. He then begins to put into effect everything he has learned about the formula and the scam during his time spent in solitary. He appears to have learned a vital lesson from the two con artists inside, since it is quite successful and he does well in the gambling industry. When Jake is able to stand up again, he confronts Dorothy Macha, his archenemy and a power-hungry woman. When Jake and his brothers enter Macha's casino, they are immediately called before Macha to participate in a game of chance. They must ride an elevator up 22 levels to get to Macha's game, and it is revealed that Jake has severe claustrophobia as a result of spending so many years in solitary. He must fight off an anxiety episode in order to ride the elevator. Jake humiliates Macha by defeating him in a game of chance at the game. Macha wants vengeance and has Jake assassinated because she fears more of the same. A strange man approaches Jake as he and his brothers are leaving the casino and offers him help while handing him a note that says, "Take the elevator." Jake decides to take the stairs since he can't bear the return trip, but he unexpectedly passes out, falls down the steps, and needs to be taken to the hospital. He is quite ill, according to the physicians, who do not, however, say why he had the blackout. Macha gives the go-ahead for a hit on Jake and requests that skilled assassin Sorter handle the situation. Without Billy, Jake arrives home to one of Macha's hits as a welcome. The lone survivor is Jake, who is saved by the enigmatic Zach. Because Sorter is perplexed by Jake's escape and survival and is unaccustomed to his hits failing, the otherwise emotionless murderer begins a silent, intense process of self-questioning. Jake is taken by Zach to his equally enigmatic partner Avi, who shows him the results of his medical tests and tells him he has 3 days to live due to an internal ailment. He claims that he and his companion can protect Jake from Macha and Jake's physical ailment. Macha is simultaneously attempting to do business with Sam Gold, who is infamous but ostensibly invisible. He strikes a deal with Lily Walker, his female representative, who represents the queen on the chessboard. Macha is cautioned that Sam Gold will be extremely upset if he doesn't follow through on the agreement. Macha sees no issue because he is just interested in the benefits of doing business with Gold, who stands in for the opposition. The trade is for some white powder, which stands for vice in all its forms, or, to put it another way, deceptive strategies for beating the game or escaping Gold's fury that, paradoxically, only serve to draw you closer to him. There is no time for negotiation, so Jake agrees to do whatever the two enigmatic figures tell him to do. He is also ready to follow their instructions. To Jake's dismay, Avi and Zach pretend to be loan sharks and progressively pressure him to give up all the money he earned through the scam. The fact that Avi and Zach are making him perform things he despises seems to be murdering a part of him. As a result of being dragged into elevators repeatedly, Jake experiences a physical and mental ordeal. Additionally, they disrupt Macha's agreement with Gold, placing Macha in danger with Gold and driving Macha to look for the powder from Lord John, a rival crime lord. They disrupt the agreement with Lord John to make it seem like each gang committed the treason, which makes the situation worse. Due to their stupidity and avarice, these two gangs start to annihilate one another. The turning point in Jake's adventure occurs when his new employers, Avi and Zach, order him to kill a man who owes them money. In defiance of the voice in his head, Jake refuses. At this crucial moment, Jake snaps and demands the two enigmatic figures to explain their strategy. What purpose does it serve to subject him to such suffering? The spectator is informed at the beginning of the movie that Jake learned this special formula in prison, and Avi and Zach do nothing more than repeat it. The first rule of any game: you can only get smarter by playing a smarter opponent. Jake now understands that he has been the victim of the perfect swindle, that Sam Gold, his opponent, is truly a pawn in the game, and that Jake's head is the last place he would ever look. Sam Gold is a metaphor that has taken the form of the devil, fear, ego, and evil. With this previously elusive knowledge in hand, Jake now engages in conflict with himself. He understands that the purpose of the game Avi and Zach forced him to play was to make him less like Sam Gold, and that's why he felt like he was dying, because a part of him was. This game appears to be played backwards. In order to give Dorothy Matcha credit, Jake donates the last of his money to a charity. At this moment, we realize that the voice we hear in the movie as a voiceover is actually the Sam Gold who lives within each character's head, not the voiceover we hear in the movie. The voice in Matcha's brain that tells him to claim the credit is making him fatter. Now that Jake is aware of the game he is playing, he goes to Matcha and begs for forgiveness at the foot of his bed. The voice inside Jake's head, which is currently in excruciating pain, disagrees with this utterly. Jake leaves Matcha's bedroom in a stopped elevator, which is his biggest nightmare because he has claustrophobia, but this is when the actual conflict occurs. Sam Gold hides behind the agony that Jake causes. Sam Gold employs all available means to subdue and weaken Jake, but he is now detachable enough from the voice for Jake to fall for it. By saying, "Embrace the suffering and you will win this game," Jake entirely leaves his Sam Gold persona. The elevator then immediately begins to run. Despite being freed from the physical jail he had been living in for 7 years, he comes to the realization that he was still imprisoned in his own head. He is deeply liberated after confronting and overcoming his anxiety. A puzzled and irate Matcha holding a gun is standing there when the elevator doors open. Jake no longer cares about Matcha, and he is unable to comprehend the game he is playing. Jake walks straight by Matcha, gun or no gun. Matcha sobs because Jake is no longer afraid of him. His ego is unable to bear this, and he succumbs to the voice of his own Sam Gold that he hears in his head. Matcha suffers from the awareness that Sam Gold is going to come and grab him despite not knowing who Sam Gold actually is or where he lives. He is unaware that Sam Gold is already capturing him, and it's happening from within. In Matcha's honor, Jake makes a sizable donation to a charity, further subduing his inner Sam Gold while enhancing the Sam Gold inside, who gleefully accepts the praise and attention from the public. Following this gesture, Matcha is initially kind to Jake. However, after finding that Jake had planned the sabotage on the powder deals, Matcha orders Jake's death with increased vigor. Jake's brother and niece are discovered at his home by Matcha's men. The previously unresponsive sorter completes his internal reflection and intervenes as Matcha's goons are torturing Jake's brother and endangering his young daughter. However, the previously unresponsive sorter is ultimately outgunned by the final survivor of the gang, who takes Jake's niece back to Matcha. Jake and Avi complete a game of chess in Matcha's casino after Jake realizes that the enigmatic personalities Avi and Zach are not who he initially believed them to be. It is now clear that Avi had the ability to defeat him at any point. Avi explains to him one of the rules once more. The trick is to feed the victim pieces so they believe they took them because they are smarter than you are. Jake is aware that these two people are his former roommates from solitary confinement, with whom he shared a cell for 7 years. They made good on their promise to free him from jail, and they did, but Jake was unaware that the prison was the one inside his mind, and he had no idea how big that prison was. Avi and Zach openly admit that they didn't aid him because they liked him, rather, they did so because they are him. They are reflections of his higher nature. Jake's persona of Sam Gold, meanwhile, developed from his actions after being released from prison, where he deceived his adversaries into believing he was making them wealthy when, in reality, he was stealing their money. This is similar to how the ego develops by promoting excess and a sense of entitlement in those who it resides in. Jake confronts Matcha about his niece being held hostage. The Sam Gold inside of Matcha is shouting with wrath, pride, and terror, while Matcha himself is overcome with uncertainty and panic. Jake continues to be fearless of Matcha, which continues to frighten him. Matcha believes Sam Gold will kill him for messing up the delivery of the powder, and his ego, who is Sam Gold, whispers, "You can't kill someone who's already dead." Ultimately, Matcha chooses suicide over killing Jake or his niece out of pride and fear. Sam Gold triumphs. In the end, it's a story about realizing that the prison is the mind and the ego is the hidden master of that environment. The only real enemy to have ever existed is within. It is fear. The external world is determined, to great degree, by one's fear. Fear is the opponent in life, and as you get smarter, so does he. Once it's recognized for what it is, it can be mastered, but without recognition of this situation, you are simply an unconscious slave and the game hasn't gone full circle. And that is the end of this movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for daily updates of movie recaps like this. Comment what movie you want next. Thanks for watching.